Yes, twice. Yeah, you've been here twice. Welcome
And,
once again.
Good to see you and good to see my brother,
Yes.
Mutala. You could see from his face that it's looking fresh after the Christmas recess.
Right.
Back in Fuji and spirit.
I know.
And we're going to do things together, isn't it?
And I see your pin.
I can
Is it a presec pin?
Yes, of course. I'm an old boy. I'm
Oh,
an
that,
old
yeah.
daddy. Yeah.
Oh, God, that, yeah.
We serve a living God.
Okay, I know that.
And I can see Kadeshan far away at the corner.
Yeah, Kaldation.
Yeah.
And the other one is Beyonce.
Beyonce is not around.
Yes, we know Beyonce around.
Oh, you're giving them names.
A man who has been causing stirs all over the last week since the NDC decided to change the leadership of Parliament. Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed is right here. He's a member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Brother, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. I thought you were still introducing him.
No.
When you say causing stirs last week, I was wondering whether you were referring to him. Because it certainly can't be me.
It was you. I saw
you
you
are not a
all
radical.
around.
You see, he's trying to run away from what
I'm telling you,
But
causing
trust me,
confusion
Not
all
it's
over.
not confusion. You see, we must have such people in all our political parties who can speak their mind.
Yeah.
When things are not going the way
alongside
it
Soheyeni.
is. I mean, I give him thumbs up for it. We should be able to do that. Even in our own party, myself. When things are not going, let us be open and speak to it so that some of these things can be corrected. And I give him thumbs up for that.
Charlie.
He's not being radical. I know he is, but this particular one.
But this one is...
This one there.
It's a radical in perspective.
Positive radicalism.
This unusual positive words.
When I saw him speaking, Charlie, left, right, center, he spoke Parliament, Facebook, it was there. Then you see him, the media houses, he was there. I say, hey, I wanted to call him, but I said it was not the right time to make the call. Yeah. But let's just run by you the names that have been introduced as the new ministers holding various positions. So we'll have those on screen very soon. And Harriet, our lead director, is always on top of all these things. But let's also get Bright Simon's views on many of the things as well. But the ministerial portfolios, so we have the individuals, Brian Champom occupying the position of the Minister of Agric, meaning that he's taken over from Dr. Akoto. And, well, so we have Herbert Krapper nominated as a Deputy Energy Minister. Ronaldo came in, but he's the President of our Republic. And then we have Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam. He's a Minister of State in charge of Finance. All right. Then Brian Champong nominated as the Minister for Food and Agriculture. Debt exchange. This one not part. Well, so let's get to studio. Oh, we have sticker. That's Dr. Stephen Amwa. Dr. Stephen Amwa occupying the position of Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry. But look, let's... Titus Glover.
Yes, you want my views on this?
Titus Glover.
Yes, Roland Walker.
The expectation was that the president would cut down on the ministerial portfolios, and then also will put these individuals, as good as they are, in the small-sized government based on the cuts that he would do. Rather, it's just the replacement. This is not a reshuffle, is it? This is a replacement.
Whatever terminology you want to give. First of all, let me say a good morning to our viewers, my brother and friend Mutala, and everybody. Let me also congratulate Brian Champon, Honorable Katie Hammond, Honorable Stephen Samobwating, our junior Stephen Amwa, and the elevation to our junior Amin Adams. I'll begin by saying that Honorable Katie Hammond, like we all know, is an experienced member of parliament representing the good people of Adansi Asukwa in the Ashanti region. And is coming on board with that rich experience And in his practice as an MP, I recall during the days of President Kufuor's era, when he was Deputy Minister for Energy, trade and industry is a very important ministry, because basically look at the commerce, how it's being run and all that. So when you look at the performance of Honorable Alan Chirmantin, the 1D1F, a major import substitution policy of government, the drive, the enthusiasm at which he has been able to push that policy, needs somebody with that strong hand that can continue with the work of trade. And I see nothing wrong about that appointment that the president has done in terms of KT Hammond. I want to see him doing more of the advocacy in terms of the consumption of made in Ghana goods and all that. Because that is the only thing that we can do to enable us to limit, to some extent, the number of importations that we do into the country. So I want to see him more of doing a lot of the advocacy in the made in Ghana goods that we produce and all that. He must also begin to have some relationship with stakeholders within the trade and industry. Talk about GUTA, talk about agents of the port, the freight forwarders, and all that, so that we'll be able to meet the target and agenda set by His Excellency, the President. Now, when you come to Agric, another major important ministry, and looking at Brian Champon, I have no doubt at all that he could be able to deliver, because he's coming from agrarian region, the eastern region. And when you look at the Afram Plains north and south, a major food basket of our country. When you go to the north, I've traveled around the country so many times until recently. When you look at the Savannah area, you look at the Dagbon area, you look at the Fubusi, the rice area, you look at Sandema, generally you look at the 5 northern region. That alone can even feed West Africa when we're even serious in agriculture. And I have no doubt that I'm sure the honey notes that has been given to him, Brian will take pain to go through all these things. When it's time for equipment to be given to our farmers, it should be on time. The issue about fertilizers must go on time. During the Russia-Ukraine war, we had difficulty in the importation of these fertilizers into the country. Now that I'm sure they might get some other sources to bring these fertilizers down, you'll be in a position to do the needful. I will urge him not to sit too much in the office. He must go to the field. There is a program on UTV, Mutala, I'm not sure whether you've been watching.
And you're referring to Brian Champon?
I'm referring to Brian Champon. It's called Aiko, hosted by the Nimado of UTV. Fantastic program. Wednesday, today is Wednesday. It starts from, I think, about 8 to 9. It tells you what goes on within the farming community. And I will urge my brother Brian to take interest in some of these programs. He must not sit too much in the office. He must go to the farmers. He must go to the ground. And based on that, you'll be able to hear things and see things for himself. Sometimes one of the things that the reporter will be giving you, it is good to compare. Like the president travels around the country some of the times. He moves away from the Jubilee House and goes into the regions to ascertain, to really find out what's really on the ground. And that is going to help him in dealing with that. Then Honorable Obiamwa, my senior, very cool, soft-spoken, experience when it comes to local governance. And this elevation too, I give it to him. That is going to complement the effort of Honorable Danko Kuboche, so that we're able to drive the local government. Stephen Asamoah Boateng is also a former member of parliament for Infantaman, right? Very experienced, and his relationship with chiefs is no in doubt, and I believe that he will be able to also.
You mean a former member?
Former member of parliament from Infantaman. So I have no doubt at all that with his rich experience in terms of management from the information ministry, he's been a deputy local government minister before his elevation to minister for information. Until recently, he was the chief executive for state interest and governance authority, and he's been so well. So I believe that with this.
So you believe this is a team?
Why not?
The question is that the president was being expected to rather cut down on his ministers and if anything at all, rather put these individuals in portfolios that could make them more efficient, reduce the size of government. Why hasn't he done that? Two major vacancies that he's filled, and that made him to adjust, because Honorable like Chamating, Honorable Akuto also left. That is why Katie is filling the trade portfolio, Brian is filling the agri portfolio. Then when the Dubai had the issues and he left, you need to fill it. So I think the only new phase that I've seen is Steve Amoa, because Herbert has been moved to the energy ministry because of the elevation of Amin Adam. Do you understand? So clearly, he is the coach, he is the manager of the team, and he knows who, how, and when to place his players at the right position. So the prerogative lies with him.
He lies with him. He has the final say. So he thinks that is the best that he can do for this country. So for me, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. That let's see what, because these are all experienced people. Some have been elevated, some have come in new. Brian was a former Minister of State in charge of national security, so I have no doubt at all that all the names that he has brought to Parliament, they will have the support of my colleagues, and for that matter, be allowed to go and work.
Mutala, you've been a former deputy trade minister before. Kofi Seyram, for example, says, I need some education. If they say Minister of State, Minister, what's the difference? Because the clarion sentiment on social media and within the public spaces that the president doesn't seem to be a man who is listening to stakeholders.
Well, good morning, and good morning to your cherished viewers, and of course my senior brother, controversial senior brother. I understand he's a chief because he told me that I need to give him that respect. I don't know which chieftain's title that he was enlisting with Telensina. And of course, good morning to the good people of Tamale Central. And Roland, permit me to, I believe that on behalf of all of us, express our profound condolences to the families of those who have lost loved ones in the earthquake in Syria and in Turkey. Yesterday I was listening to BBC, and it was reported that about 7,200 people are confirmed or were confirmed dead, and the reporter indicated that the numbers could soar. I mean, for me that is monumental, to have over 7,000 people losing their lives. And the sad aspects of it is that majority of the people who live in those areas are people who were subjected to conflict in Syria for over a decade. For me, that is extremely worrying. And in all this, the hardest hit will be children and women. I was watching a clip, in fact, a video clip on social media, and even in the rubble, they found some young kids, at least about 4 years, 5 years alive. And for me, that is encouraging. Look, this is a president who told everybody that he was not willing to reshuffle. And true to his word, he hasn't reshuffled. And as a matter of fact, when he went to Tamale, a journalist put the question to him why several demands were made for the government to reshuffle, and he said that those who were making those demands were jobless and that they wanted jobs. This statement coming from the mouth of a president of a country, more so a serious country such as Ghana. Roland, I sat on this program, if you remember, and I said sometime almost a year ago, and I said that the president was never going to get the Minister for Finance out of office, that he wasn't going to reshuffle him, he wasn't going to take him out, because Ken Ofori-Atta is more powerful in this government than the president. I said that. 2, the reason why the statement of the president that he was not going to reshuffle, and those who were calling for some reshuffle or downsizing his government were those who desperately were looking for jobs. The danger about it are about 3. Well, let me see the positives of having a reshuffle, or the possibility of reshuffle comes with about 3 advantages. When appointees know that there could be reshuffle at any point in time, they up their game.
You mean they keep them on their toes?
Yes. It keeps them on their toes. They deliver because they don't want to be reshuffled. Nobody would want to.
They don't
to
become
be
comfortable.
Good. 2, that's the second one. When people become very comfortable at their jobs, it can also lead to corruption. Look, there are people who want to go to work every day. They never want to miss work. Now, if you don't take time, you think that they love the work so much. It's possible they are engaged in some corrupt activity, and they think that their absence at work could expose them. So they would want to go to work all the time. So the possibility of reshuffle also denies appointees the opportunity to get comfortable, on their jobs, which can lead to they being corrupt. The third one is that when appointees or members of your party know that there could be reshuffle, everybody would want to contribute towards the success of that administration, because they also stand the chance of getting the opportunity to serve. But where a president says that I'm not going to reshuffle, I don't intend to reshuffle, then you find all these things being missing. And that is why I said it could be disadvantages or advantages.
An advantage.
3, in fact, another very important point, the concerns that have been expressed, not just by politicians, but civil society organizations and individuals, that one of the surest way we can get out of the mess, this self-inflicted mess, occasioned by the gross incompetence of President Nana Addo and his team of incompetent appointees, that one of the surest way we can get out of this is to downsize the government.
You think that would have sent...
This is the biggest government in our history. That would have... What the president did instead is double down. Do you know the numbers have increased? As a matter of fact, when someone asks what is the role of a minister of state, a minister of state works within the ministry, but perhaps work directly at the office of the president. And some of them have their offices even at the Flagstaff House. Why would you want to have a minister of state in a ministry that has 2 deputy ministers? Why would you want to do that? Look, I congratulated Dr. Amin Adam. He's my teacher. He taught me. He's somebody I looked up to. I mean, in the North, in growing up, and still, many of us who had the ambition of getting engaged in either student activism, particularly student activism, we looked up to the likes of Honorable Haruna Idrisu, Honorable Adam Mohammed Amin Anta, Honorable Mustafa Hamid, because these were those who pioneered the student leadership
in Northern Ghana.
In Northern Ghana. So we looked up to them.
At the national level.
At the national level, when we also became student leaders, some people also looked up to us. And I remember they used to organize free extra classes for students when they were in the university.
Oh,
there are many people.
well.
Yes, I mean free. When we also got to the university, we continue with that tradition. Unfortunately, that thing seemed to be missing. That anytime we vacated, and I remember when I was in Legon, anytime I was writing my final paper, I have my SCC ticket in my hand. The moment I finished with the final paper, I joined and then go back to organize this class. So we looked up to them. So I congratulate him. But the question is, do we need a minister of state in a ministry that has 2 deputies? Come to the Ministry of Trade. You already have 2 deputy ministers at the Ministry of Trade. Then you appoint my good friend, Sticker, right? Because my understanding is that the other 2 deputy ministers, the lady and also the Befi, and then you add another deputy minister of trade. So you now have 3 deputy ministers of trade at the Ministry of Trade, then you have a minister. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I remember when the NDC won elections and President Mahama appointed myself and my brother Felix as deputy ministers for information. There's a minister in this government today, when he was a journalist, they sat and said the Minister of Information didn't need 2 deputies. But that same person ended up having 3 deputies at the ministry he serves now.
What's your point with that?
So my point is that 2 deputy ministers at the Ministry of Information, I mean, you have dealt with information. It was appropriate. So when you have 2 deputy ministers at Ministries of Information, it is appropriate. But to have 3 deputies, in fact, Ministry of Trade is divided into 2. You have Trade and Industries. When I was a deputy minister for Trade with my good friend, Honorable Rickett was handling industries and I was handling trade. Now, if you now have 3 deputies who will handle industries, who will handle trade, the other one, what is he going to do? So, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Frankly, you have 3 ministers of state now. You are adding to the portfolio. You are adding to the portfolio of government chest. In fact, more money is expected to be spent. Could you have done without those ministers of state? Yes, you could have done without those ministers of state. So this president, I think the President Nanado's objective is that I am going to reward loyalists. And one thing I've observed about him, he's not looking at competence. He's looking at people who are very loyal to him as a person, not even to the MPP. Because there are a lot of the appointees who are absolutely moribund. Because what have they delivered? My brother was talking about a very important policy such as 1D1F. 1D1F could be a very good policy intervention by any government. But you don't formulate and implement policies just for the sake of formulating and implementing. You implement policies to achieve an objective. One of the most important objectives for the 1D1F was what? To reduce our import dependence, to increase jobs, you know. Let's look at the statistics now. As a result of 1D1F, one expects that our import dependence, particularly on rice and others, would have been reduced. As a matter of fact, we are spending more in importation than we used to do. 2, unemployment has actually escalated. You took it as 6.8 under President Mahama. Today, 17.4. Because that was what the census provided. And I remember the statistical service sometime last month said it's about 9.6 or 9 point something. It's ridiculous. So if you implemented those policies, nobody has been able to do an impact assessment of the 1D1F that this government intends to implement. And I have raised a question about a waiver given to 2 companies in this parliament before we rose, amounting to $11 million plus. 2 companies in the name of 1D1F. When those companies failed to provide evidence of jobs jobs they have created. But one of the condition is that if you want to enjoy the tax waiver, then you must provide evidence of jobs that you have created. 2 companies, over $11 million. That over $11 million could have taken care of free SHS for years. So it simply doesn't make sense. To be very honest, sometimes I wonder who advises the president, and I wonder what kind of discussions they have when they go to cabinet. Because all the policy interventions with which they have made so much noise yield no results. No results. Because if you implemented a policy such as 1D1F for the purposes of creating jobs to reduce unemployment, yet unemployment is escalating for the purposes of reducing our import dependency, when we took the importation of rice and poultry products in 2016, in fact, up to the day President Nanado delivered his plagiarized speech, 7th January 2017, we were spending close to $500 million in the importation of rice and poultry products into this country. Today, we are spending over $2 billion. It simply doesn't make sense. So that's why I say, if you want to praise Alan and praise others for what they have achieved nothing.
Well,
if
even in the last budget, the import bill is even 10 billion.
No, I'm even talking of rice and poultry products alone.
Certainly.
That's what I'm looking at. If you look at the entire import bill, it's a disaster. So none of these people, none of these ministers, either the Minister for Agri or the Minister for Trade, should be given any credit. Because if you want to give them credit, it is not about sloganerism. Let's look at the achievements and see whether they have retrogressed this nation as a result of what they have managed or not.
If we had advocated, and the advocacy is still on, that the president needed to reduce the size of his government, ideally, what size was it?
The size was abnormal. I'm saying that this is the biggest. Tell me whether any president or any government in this country since 1992, in fact, since independence, have had this huge size of appointees. And apart from that, they have other special assistants. You go to agencies, chief executive, deputy chief executive. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, if you look at the amount of money the state spends in ensuring the comfort of these people who deliver nothing, because what they deliver could be delivered by one person, deputy chief executive. We don't need them. And these are not things that the NDC says. Even friends of this government can no longer tolerate it, can no longer tolerate the belligerence of this government, refusing to listen to the people of this country, refusing to listen to even their friends and people who suffer to ensure that President Nana becomes president. They are unwilling to listen to them. It is about when they talk, I do more. This country, we must fight for this country. And sometimes that is why people get passionate about it. Now people expect you to do something. Look, I got information that they suggested Asibe Yebua as a minister of state. And my information is that the president got angry when the name came up. Fantastic individual. Look, when we MPP won elections in 2016, I'm on record to have said on TV and on radio that the best person they could have appointed as a minister for finance was Dr. Akuto Osei. And I said this for a reason. Dr. Akuto Osei was the ranking member on finance, was the ranking member on finance for 8 years, a former minister of state at the Ministry of Finance. So if there was anybody who had an appreciation of the state of the economy from the MPP, it was Dr. Akuto Osei. The reason why the president didn't appoint him and that this ministry was waiting for somebody is because Akuto Osei's name is not Oforiatta. And I can tell you, and I'll urge my brother, go and swear affidavit. Change your name to Titus Glover Oforiatta. I can assure you, the next day you'll be given an appointment. Look, the reason why this man is still the minister, and I will say this without any fear, is because he uses Oforiatta. Tell me one success story that this man can say that this is what I have been able to do.
The finance minister.
Joblessness has increased to, it's spread like a prairie fire. The economy is shrink. Debt to GDP is over 90%. Tell me one single success story. Yet this man is unwilling to change him because the man is more powerful. Because he's more powerful than the president. I mean, tell me, even if he was delivering, even if he was having a success story in his name, the fact that everybody thinks that you must change him, you would have changed him. And I said and I predicted, and I want to repeat, this man is not moving an inch. And sometimes the pettiness with which the president deals with MPP members because he disagrees with some of them, it is just legendary.
Now, Mr. Titus Glover, there's a key consideration. You look at a budget deficit of 61%. The individual bondholders made a suggestive approach by way of a structure of reducing the burden on the state by a proposition of some 54 billion. Well, we're told that the finance minister had accepted that. It looks like there's a certain supposition that the president is just not in sync with the state of Ghana's finances and the difficulties that we face ourselves in. So as a result of that, well, keeping the state of government, the cost at which that expenditure is, doesn't concern him at all. How would you respond to that?
I will move into the next topic.
No.
Before I respond to that, let me deal quickly with one of the few things that my brother spoke about. It is totally erroneous for Murtala to say that the 1D1F policy, a major policy drive like this, is a failure. I totally disagree with him because he feels that there has not been any study to ascertain the impact being felt of the 1D1F. Hold on. So clearly that is where I have issues with him and I disagree totally for what he has said. When you go to Ashanti region today, as we speak, different industry total about 54. Even when you employ 2 people, even if the 2 people that are employed in that factory that is turning things around at least we'll reduce unemployment.
Well, the question or the refrain is that what's the general impact on the economy?
So clearly, if we have someone from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, because that is their job, that is their work, they need to tell us all this industry that has been put up, because a major import substitution drive policy of President Akufo-Addo's government. So if you sit here and you tell me that it is not being felt, and for that matter, we don't see anything good about what he has done, I will not sit here and agree with what Murtala is saying. So clearly, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, they must be able to let us know. And I can tell you, the positive nature of this policy is up there. And everybody, where these factors have been cited,
1D, 1F?
I'm telling you. You see, the propensity, our taste for exotic products in this country is what is killing us. You be a Deputy Minister for Trade. And I know when I was serving as the Deputy Ranking Member of the Committee of Trade, the struggle that we have to go through for people who have exotic taste for foreign products. This is what is killing this country. And I'm happy Katie is taking over for Honorable Chairman Ting.
You think it's the panacea?
I'm saying that we need to change our psyche. We need to change our psyche.
And
the way we do things of this country.
And Katie is the man to change that.
Why? If the president has given an opportunity, why not? Why can't he do that? My late father, I remember those days he was doing trade. He goes to the north and buy rice and bring it to the south. Why are we not driving this policy around to make people consume whatever we grow in this country? In my own home, Murtala, I don't eat foreign rice.
Myself.
I don't eat foreign rice in my house. I've told my wife, please.
Which of the rice brands do you eat
so long as
locally?
it's a local rice, I'm good with it.
Any rice is rice.
You see, the more you eat and the more the tongue tastes, it's good to go. So clearly, we need to look at some of these things to make sure we shape the focus of this country. That is the only thing that we can do to be able to conserve some of these forex that we have in this country. So, Murtala, respectfully, I totally disagree with the position you want to take. Then back to your subject of this.
You attributed a statement.
The cost.
Which is not,
the cost of the size of government.
Can I
No, you spoke at length. Cool down. Sitting here, I will not be in the position to explain that. Because like I said, he's the coach. He's the manager.
President?
Yes. He knows what he's doing. He knows what is best for this country.
We're told that he doesn't listen. He's not listening to anybody.
Please, how can you
the financial analysts, the academics,
don't say that. Don't say that. Roland, don't say that. What do you mean the president does not listen?
Yeah, because we have a budget deficit of 61 billion. The proposition is that cut down the size of government, send a certain signal to the market, and rather you're just filling the same potholes with fresh bitumen.
When you ask him to cut certain expenditure down, fantastic. It's a good idea that he should look at it. But this is a position that has been made vacant that he need to fill. So it has not finished.
How about the three?
Please, hold on. He has not finished. So it is important that he lets these positions be filled. Then we can look at other things because, of course, we are not in normal times. There's a need for government to be thrifty. There's a need for government to look at what savings that he can do so that we can break down the expenditure down.
Do you think the government is doing that?
Why not? It's a matter of time. Why don't you give it time for him to look at all these things? If the proposal have been made by these leaders of this bondholders association or something, he's looking at them. They've sent the figures to him. You look at it where you think you can take that one out and make sure you can reduce them. So it's a matter of having time with him to do what is best for us. So please, let us not push too hard. He has listened, and at the right time, you get a response that will be coming from him. And I don't like the word that you use, that is not, he doesn't listen.
Now, I'm not the one who says this.
No. So if people are saying, don't repeat it on your show.
Okay.
No, he's wrong.
The refrain in the market from academics for those who...
What do you mean the president does not listen?
Is that the president...
It's a bad language.
He doesn't listen.
He doesn't listen to who?
To people like you.
Oh, please.
Are you happy with the Minister for Finance? Being there. Be honest. Be sincere. Look into the cameras and tell me whether you are happy with the Minister for Finance still being there.
I'm not appointing authority.
Are you happy?
I am not.
Are you happy with him?
He appointed him.
All right.
Would you have?
He has a right to fire him or not. He's not entitled.
But would you have loved to change him?
If I'm the chief executive and you ask me this question, I can respond to it.
If you were a chief executive. Now let's go. Let's go.
But it's important.
No.
Just 30 seconds. Okay. First and foremost, when I raised the issue about the 1D1, and I said, look, this could be a very good policy, but it is not yielding the results unemployment has actually... Hold on.
On what basis are you...
Good. Let me give you the basis.
On what basis?
The 1B1F, ostensively, is to reduce...
The objectives.
To create jobs and to reduce unemployment.
You think it hasn't made an impact?
Unemployment has actually...
So have you been to this industry? You are a deputy trade minister.
You want the facts.
No.
I'm saying that unemployment...
You can't just use employment statistics to say that it's a bad policy.
I'm saying that the policy was...
What basis are you standing? What study? What research have you done?
The intention, you read the document, the policy intended, 1, to reduce our import dependence.
That's wrong.
2, to also create jobs and therefore reduce unemployment.
That's correct.
And I'm saying that unemployment has actually increased.
But does that mean it's a failure?
Oh, I'm coming.
But does that mean it's a failure?
But what is it? From 6.8
how many factories
to 17.4. That is monumental. More than 200%.
How many factories did you
As a matter of fact,
You were the
our
deputy
import
minister.
dependency actually, that's why you were talking of the entire import.
Yeah, the import bill is now 10 billion from the last budget.
I'm talking of,
and $10 billion.
I'm talking of what the Ministry
Yeah.
of Trade,
Yeah.
Ministry of Trade
has
own
oversight
responsibility. That we're spending about $500 million in the importation of rice and poultry products. With 1B1F at the ministry, we are now spending over $2 billion importing same within the period of 6 to 7 years. If this is not incompetence, what is it? Perhaps borrow me a word to attach incompetence with it. Maybe perhaps a legendary incompetence.
Okay.
If I can say that the objective set for the purposes of the 1B1F has not only missed its objective, it is way off track. I'm saying that it has not yielded the necessary results. The idea of doing an import assessment is secondary. That we can all see that we are not achieving the results. Perhaps if you do a proper import assessment, you'll be able to find out why is it that we are not achieving the intended objectives. And you would come to one conclusion, that this policy was implemented, not supervised by the minister. They created a secretariat at the Flagstaff House because they wanted to stifle Alan Chirmantin of resources because he would be contesting for the MPP flag bearership. Anyway, what they have done with this appointment, you have K.T. Hammond, Honorable K.T. Hammond, and my good friend Sticker. I remember when they mentioned Sticker's name, we all rose. Frankly speaking, how are they going to work together?